What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing all things Wine and Dine. So Wine and Dine is less than a week away now, and we're going to be giving you the rundown of all things Expo, 5K, 10K, half marathon, even after party, and we'll go ahead and talk about our plans for the weekend as well.
Wine and Dine gets started Thursday for Expo Day. The Expo starts at 10 a.m., but new this year, they are going to be using a virtual queue for the RunDisney merch.
So it looks like this virtual queue is going to work off the same system that they've used for a couple years now for various rides, including Rise of the Resistance, Remy's Ratatouille, and now Guardians of the Galaxy. Looks to be the same exact process. You will use the My Disney Experience app. It will open at 7:30, so you'll keep refreshing pretty much at 7:29 until it opens. You can go through, click your party members that you want to join, and then it will give you a return time, essentially. For other rides, it gave you like a boarding pass number and then an approximate time. I don't know if it's going to do something similar to that, but you will get a return time. Now you can join this at 7:30, as I just said, and then it will not start allowing people in until 10 a.m. when the actual expo opens. We don't 100% know what this is gonna look like right now, but we are gonna go and give it a try, see how it works. They say this is going to be used all day on the first day only. It is not being utilized for Friday or Saturday. And this is basically to help alleviate the line that we've seen the first day, people lining up at 5:30 in the morning. So I am actually excited for this. I hope that it is a good change. Hopefully it doesn't kind of back up too long and people have to hang out at the expo all day when they had other plans.
One thing though is when you join the queue and it gives you that return time, I believe you do have an hour to get there once it pops up as it's your time to join. Depending on where you are in Disney property, you may not necessarily need to be at the expo as long as you can get there within the hour.
Yes, and you can join the queue from your hotel room, or it says within approximately 45 miles of property. We are actually just within that range here. So It should be pretty good for us. We should be able to join it here and then have an estimated time of what time we need to get there. One thing I do think is this might make some of the other areas of the expo maybe a little more crowded.
People like hanging out before their time and things like that. Which honestly I could see Disney maybe wanting, because if people aren't standing in a line, just like when they did fast passes, if they aren't standing in a line, they're most likely spending money other places.
We have a 3-building system. The merchandise which we just talked about is in that first Advent Health building, where it's always been in the big theater. And then the other 2 parts of the expo, check-in and registration, is in the State Farm building. That is the building, once you go up through the pathway, it's going to be on the left-hand side. Very hard to miss, always people there directing you to it. You'll go through that, go downstairs. They are using the same check-in system where you have the virtual pass on your phone, or if you had some sort of issue with your waivers, which I'm still hearing people saying they're having. That process, if you were missing your registration, is honestly very easy. You go down, they have a separate line for you, waivers printed out and ready. I had it happen to me last year, no issues. And then right across at the HP Pavilion is where the actual expo happens. This is also where you're going to pick up your race day shirts. Depending on what races you signed up are in the very back of that building. And then we can go ahead and talk about some of the vendors that are there. List of the different exhibitors. We have iSoul Eyewear, Advent Health, Beach Life Fitness Boutique, Boulder Athletic Wear, Bondi Band, DVC, Fit to Run is that whole center section as it always is, Flip Belts, Flock Sportswear, Fluffy Fuzzies, Hiddo.
It's Fluffy Fizzies.
Okay. Home of the Consumers, Honey Stinger, Ice Now, Jakku Massage Devices, Jeff Galloway, KT Tape, great service offered there if you need it. One More Mile, Powered Living, Pro Compression, Rue Sports, RunDisney, Scar & Co Magnets, Second Harvest Food Bank, Shocks, Sparkle Athletics, Sparkly Soul, Sunglass World, Super Bands, Sweaty Bands, and Team 413 and Therabody. So some returning ones. Looks like a couple new ones as well. I don't think I've seen Honey Stinger have like an actual booth in a while.
I was trying, actually that's what I had focused in on too, because for the past couple of years, Honey Stinger has been like the nutrition at the races. When you said that they were there, it jumped out at me that usually the person who does the nutrition has a booth. Like back when it was Cliff, I remember Cliff having a stall, but I don't remember Honey Stinger. Honey Stinger is great. We use them as part of our nutrition most of the time. So I'd be interested to see if they're handing anything out. Would be really cool.
Always nice to see new faces at the booths as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a decent size. We'll have a good amount of vendors. I know, like, I have the list right here, but without actually seeing it when you walk in, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, well,
what it's gonna
sometimes,
look like.
yeah, and sometimes, like, some of those companies and things, like, off the top of my head, I don't know, like, everything they offer. Things that stand out to me that I would be interested, that I want to make sure I go see is I'd like to go buy Pro Compression and see about some compression socks. I want to see if Therabody has those, like, leg sleeve massage things, because I want to try them. I'm very interested in
Space
those.
boots.
Yeah.
They are pretty cool.
Yeah.
That about covers most of the expo. Other things they will have is the photo op opportunities right outside of merchandise, and then basically in the area where you first enter the ESPN zone is typically where they'll have different metal photos. Sometimes those move, sometimes they're along the side path, sometimes they're in the center there.
And you know, Wine and Dine is usually when we get to see Marathon Weekend medals. I think we'll see Princess medals as well because they revealed them. So I'm excited to see those, especially the Marathon Weekend ones. That'll be really cool.
Yes, we will make sure that we are there and have video of that, and we'll do video of like the whole virtual queue process as well. Basically giving you the rundown on all of that.
Also worth it to say, especially if it's your first time going to an expo, they do, and in the past few years have greatly expanded food and drink options like throughout the expo experience. They usually have some kind of like featured alcoholic beer, cider. They have food kind of throughout.
If you want to see more of what the expo experience is like, we have videos from all 4 of last year's races, and they're honestly like, we do pretty much the same thing every time.
Yeah.
So they're very much the same, where it's, you know, either we go to merchandise first and then we do bid pickup and the expo hall, or sometimes we'll do bid pickup, expo hall, and then merchandise, depending on what time we get there.
Yeah.
We run through that whole process, show you what pretty much every step of that looks like, from going and doing the check-in, getting shirts, and looking through merchandise. So check those out. If you have any more questions, always feel free to drop them in the comments. But that's going to bring us to the 5K. 5K is Coco theme. We are not running the 5K this time.
We really wish we were.
5K is the best theme of this whole weekend. I don't think either of us are particularly that fond of the themes this year, except for this Coco theme, which is awesome.
Coco's one of our favorite movies to watch, and even like the shirts and the artwork and the merch from this race looks like the best of the other 2 plus the challenge. So this will be fun if you're running it. We're jealous. That's on Friday. Starts at 5 a.m. Buses start at
3 a.m.
Okay.
Yep. And this is a very standard 5K setup. It's going to run you kind of around the side of Epcot, in through the back by Test Track. You go around World Showcase. They did cut that little weird loop out where you go back behind Remy's Ratatouille, which I always kind of liked because there was a cool photo op in front of the Ratatouille sign. And then you are running kind of out the side of Epcot, back in through the UK pavilion. You run kind of down towards the center. And then all the finishes this year are kind of that long run, going back out by Mission Space. And then you got to run around that building. You run kind of through the Guardians area, and then you run to the finish. It's kind of a long slog through the finish, especially like once you get to the half.
It's the world's longest building. It's the building that never ends. But it's a fun time. We didn't really do any Disney 5Ks for many years, and then in the past few years we've done a couple, and I think they're my favorite races at Disney. I think they're just so much fun.
They're fun, they're chill, they're very low pressure. Great first race for you, even if you're unsure about keeping up pace times, because they don't time them.
They start so early that you still have like a full day left to do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's going to bring us to the 10K race. 10K race is Raya and the Last Dragon. New to Wine and Dine this year is the 10K and the half marathon are both starting in Epcot and finishing in Epcot. In previous years, this race used to start in the Magic Kingdom parking lot and finish in Epcot. We're going to see some different courses this year for that. And the 10K is probably an upgrading course, to be honest. This is probably my favorite 10K course, which we'll get to in a second.
So the 10K start time is at 5 a.m., just like all the other races for this weekend. The buses start running at 3 a.m. from all of the Disney resorts. Interesting to note that even though it's starting in the Epcot parking lot, this is also true for the half, the race guide says they're not using monorails, which I find extremely weird. Start groups for the 10K are in the Epcot parking lot, which is typical for most of the 10K.
This is definitely one of the easiest starting situations. No long walks or anything like that. Only kind of walk you'll have is they will send you through Epcot security up at the front of Epcot, and then you walk through. But not as bad, at least, as the half, which we'll get to. The course for the 10K is actually one of my favorite 10 courses. This course was new last year, starting with Marathon Weekend, and we saw it used for
Princess and
Springtime. Really like this course. You get 2 parks out of a 10K, which does not always happen. Typically it was either all of Epcot, or when we started in Magic, you kind of ran to Epcot, had a little bit of Epcot, and then you finished. So this is a good change. You're gonna hang that left real quick. You're basically running out toward World Drive. You're gonna do a merge onto World Drive. Basically, first 3 miles are all highway. They've done pretty good in the past, though, about keeping characters and stuff out there. And then once you get to about mile 3.5, you're gonna enter through Hollywood. Instead of going up the hill and around the amphitheater for Fantasmic, you actually go around Hollywood and you run in by the Cars experience that we all forget is there. And you run by a rock and roller coaster. You get to go in through the rock and roller coaster entrance. You do the run down.
One thing about that Cars area that I think is kind of cool, because I feel like every time I've run by it, is they usually always do have Lightning McQueen right there as a photo opportunity. So it's one you can always count on being there, because that's where his little stand is.
And then this is the very standard kind of in and out of Hollywood Studios. You run down Sunset Boulevard, you do kind of a quick turn out the side because they don't have you go out the main entrance there, and you run around that, and then you're in the front of Hollywood Studios, and you're doing the basically run from Hollywood to Boardwalk. I like running this part. Can get a little bit crowded depending on where you are in the race. I don't think it's as bad for the 10Ks though,
because it's not till pretty much mile 4 that you're doing that. There's been a good amount of time there to spread out, and faster people who may have been stuck in a prior corral have been able to kind of move up a little bit. So things have evened out by this point usually pretty well.
And then you're gonna run around the Boardwalk side there, and that's gonna bring you to mile 5 into Epcot. You do kind of that little side into Epcot, and you're gonna do a very quick area in Epcot. You're gonna run basically from the UK Pavilion to the center area. You're gonna run down that center bridge, and then you're going to hang a right past the Creation Shop, and that's where it's going to take you to the same finish that we just talked about, out the side of Mission Space and around Guardians of the Galaxy to your finish line.
Yep. All I want in a Disney race where we run by the Creation Shop is for them to somehow have those doors open so we can get all of that AC. And they never do.
Yes, we are expecting a hot weekend.
Oh, that brings us to Sunday for the Wine and Dine Half Marathon. So the Half Marathon this year, that brings us to Sunday for the Wine and Dine Half Marathon. This is also going to start at 5 a.m. Buses will start running from resorts at 2:30 a.m. And as most years for Wine and Dine, this is actually this falls on the same day as daylight savings. So this is the one where you get an extra hour, which is really nice. So however you need to do your phone or your alarms or your watches to account for that, make sure you pay attention to that. This one is a little different from the other days because the corrals are set up differently.
Yes.
So these corrals are very similar to the typical January half and full and Princess half start groups, in which they're not set up in the parking lot. They're set up on, what road is that?
Or Epcot Center Drive.
Yep. So you basically walk cast member road, access road, out to there, and it's over a mile of a walk usually to get out to those start groups. So something to keep in mind as far as timing goes. You can't just jump out of a bus, at 4:55 and expect to be in your start group. That's a little different for Wine and Dine.
Just make sure you're getting there with adequate time. It's quite a walk because you do still have to go through the Epcot security, and then you're walking to basically the stage prep area, and then you're walking all the way out to the corrals. So it does take a little bit more time to get out there.
One thing that is good to know is that they do have porta potties out in that area along with water stations. So, you use the porta potties that are by the initial stage where you arrive, but there will also be plenty out by the actual corrals themselves.
Now, the course is going to be very similar to the Tower of Terror 10 miler if you just ran this in the spring, except they decided to add the most boring 3 miles they could possibly figure out to get you to 13.1. This is probably some people are going to be excited about this course. You do get some cool things. You get Galaxy's Edge, which I'll go into in a second.
Yeah.
I don't think this course is as cool as the old Wine and Dine course. That was my favorite half course. I thought it was the most interesting, running the back roads and then running through a really good portion of Animal Kingdom. You got 3 parks for a half marathon out of that course, which is really cool. But I guess that's dead. So we will talk about this new half marathon course, which I won't be surprised to maybe see a return.
I'm assuming that the 10 miler is going to be the same 10 miler, that this course is based off of.
So we're going to start on Epcot Center Drive. You are basically running to the parking ticketing area. There's a little loop there, and that's going to loop you back towards Epcot. You're going to run along the Epcot parking lot, similar to the 5K actually, where you go in back behind Test Track. You're going to go in and run most of World Showcase. In this case, you actually are going to go out and around Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, which is kind of cool. I like that part, as I previously mentioned. And then you're going to go across the bridge and hang a left, and we're going to be going out basically around towards Boardwalk. You're going to run the Boardwalk side, so we're not running Yacht Club at all. And then once you do the Boardwalk, you're cutting the left, and we are running from Boardwalk to Hollywood. This actually brings you to about mile 5. There's also going to be a water stop out that way as well.
That, in my experience, is a very bad water stop.
It's typically very narrow, and it's only on one side.
It's literally along that bridge water area.
Yep. And then you are going to go into Hollywood. This is, I think, the most interesting part of this race. So we'll enter the same way we exited for the 10K. You kind of go in and around the front area just to get in there. And then you're actually hanging a left, and you're going to go around the by the stage where Indiana Jones is. You run by the dinosaur Gertie. And then you're going to take another left, and this is going to take you back by Star Tours. This is going to bring you into Galaxy's Edge. There's only really one way you can run through Galaxy's Edge. Unfortunately, you don't get to go by the Millennium Falcon because there are stairs down to that area. Kind of run around the outside area. Typically, they've had characters and some stormtroopers out. I believe they had a photo pass set up at the X-Wing fighter that is right there by Rise of the Resistance. There are some photo stops in there, not as many as I would have hoped from when we ran Springtime. But then you're gonna run in through Toy Story Land. That's got some cool photo spots as well. And you're going to cut basically around to Sunset Boulevard, run towards Tower of Terror, and then you're going to run...
Looks like you've gone through Fantastic.
Yes. And then you are going to hang the right at Tower of Terror, run up and run around the Fantasmic Amphitheater, and then down, and you are going to get onto the highway there. You're running maybe about half a mile on that road that Hollywood Studios is on. And then you're going to be cutting a left onto the merge and merging onto World Drive. You've got about a mile running in the opposite direction. It looks like we've got this big kind of out and back. It's almost a mile out and a mile back, essentially.
So bad.
Yeah. This is rough, guys. This is going to be a slog, especially for people running when the sun is going to be out at this point. This is going to be it's going to be a hot weekend. So you're going to do a turnaround. Looks like it's basically like a highway turnaround here at mile 8. And then you're running on World Drive for 1, 2, 3 more miles. So you've got like 4 miles of World Drive here. There are 2 water stops along the way, which is nice. One at 8.5, one at about 9.5. And then at like 9 3/4, you're going to be doing a good old overpass. Hopefully there'll be someone fun at the overpass there for us, which will hit you at mile 10. Mile 10 brings you back towards Epcot. This is kind of the rolling hill area. If you've ran any of the half marathons previously, you'll know what I'm talking about. Mile 11 is at that quick turnaround where it takes you to the bridge to get back into Epcot. And
that part always makes me happy because that's always near the end of all the races, and they usually have like a screen or a character. They've had characters at that turnaround recently, but it definitely, from that point on, you can, when you do that turn, you basically can see Spaceship Earth for like most of the rest of the race. So that always gives you a little bit of hope.
Yep. So then you are going into the side of Epcot. You're going to run kind of some back cast roads around behind the land, and then you're going to come in right next to Journey into Imagination. That's going to bring you to mile 12. Typically there's some characters in that area. Pay attention because sometimes they're hidden to the right or left. Hello, Walt. Then you're actually going to hang a right, and you're going to run towards World Showcase, and you're going to do a quick loop, basically so that you can get that running towards Spaceship Earth right at the end. And this is the same finish as the rest of the races, where you're going out by Mission Space, running by Guardians, brings you to mile 13, and we've done a half marathon. Just like usual, after all these races, you'll run through the finishing chute. They'll have you keep moving. You'll get your medal like immediately after that. Then you have a little bit more of a walk. You'll get water and Powerade after that, kind of running down the long stretch that connects the 2 parking lots. From there, if you ran the challenges, you'll get your challenge medal after the half, kind of off to the left. They have a lot of signage there. After that, you get your little snack box with whatever's in that. And then moving through there, you'll actually be back at Gear Check. If you did Gear Check will be available, I believe, all 3 mornings. They have Gear Check.
Yeah.
We use Gear Check, or I use Gear Check pretty much every time we run.
Yeah, we typically, I mean, I'll put stuff in the bag that he has, but since we're always, always together, that he can get my stuff.
One thing I do always say for Gear Check, I like to bring some sort of drawstring bag or backpack or anything, and I put all my items in that and then put that bag in the Gear Check bag. It makes it a lot easier after the race if you're trying to do any changing or just holding on to things. You have all these bottles and snack boxes and stuff.
So after you get through Gear Check, you have your like family and friends reunion area where you can kind of meet up with anyone who is spectating or people who have finished before you. They always have a stage and a DJ out there for a pretty good long time. It's always a really fun atmosphere. In the past, but like pre-pandemic, they had character photo opportunities. They have not brought back characters yet. We hope that they do. But right now they've been doing basically just photo backdrops, usually related to the theme that you can take pictures with as well. And those are fun too. They also have several different food and drink opportunities. It's always fun. You can grab like a beer or cider. They usually have champagne, and then all different kinds of food trucks.
Yep, typical ones in the past. Joffrey's Coffee has been there. Pizza Cone has been one that's been there, and the grilled cheese one, which has been like my favorite one.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's always fun, especially after the half, because you're done with everything. It's usually a really fun time.
Just a quick note, spectator viewing, there's not a lot of spots where you're going to be able to like pop to and from to be able to see people in the races. So your best bet for most of this is to catch them at the start and finish area. So they do have areas for both of those starts where you're going to be able to see them. And then the finish is basically right there. So I think for spectators for this race, that's going to be your best option. We do run by the boardwalk area, entrance of Hollywood. Those would be 2 other areas you could potentially get to as well. Some of that may require your own vehicle or Ubering or whatnot to see them.
If you're staying at the boardwalk area, like you said, you could spectate there, and then if your runner is going to be finishing later and you had an Epcot ticket and park reservation, you could enter Epcot, cheer for them in Epcot, and then get to the finish and cheer for them as well.
So let's move on to the after party.
Yep, so Wine and Dine is unique among the Disney races in that they still have an after party. It will be Sunday evening. If you registered for the half marathon or the challenge, your ticket to the after party is included in your race registration, and then they also sell just post-race tickets for people who maybe ran the 5K or the 10K, or family members or friends who want to join in with a runner. Now, all those tickets this year did sell out. I feel like it's unusual. Do they usually sell out like that?
No, I believe in previous years you could still buy the tickets like at the ticketing booth day of, or at the Expo.
Yeah, so that was interesting. If you have that post-race party ticket, you can actually get into Epcot beginning at 5 p.m. The official party start isn't until Epcot closes at 10 p.m. So that's really nice because you can go in, make a dinner reservation, or just grab something quick service. You can see, whatever is going on while the park's still open. I'm sure there's some shows as far as like the American Adventure and things like that you can see just with regular park goers. We usually like to make a dinner reservation during that time at some point because we're gonna be hungry. We ran a half marathon. And you can also see the fireworks show, because the fireworks show is what closes the park. What typically happens in this time is they'll kind of shut things down while they get the regular park goers out, and then after most things will open back up for the party goers. It's just a way for them to kind of filter out the day guests.
Typically from that 5 p.m. till park closing, the park is pretty
Crowded.
full because you've got day guests and you've got a mix of the party goers as well. Pretty full. Another thing to note is if you were just going for the party makes you an Epcot reservation essentially built in, so you don't have to make sure you have that unless you were planning on going to the park with a regular admission ticket before or earlier in that day.
Yes, very good point. Also included in your challenge and half marathon registration are, I believe, a $15 gift card number, for, it's just a Disney gift card. It's kind of intended to be used at the party to go to the different food and wine festival booths. So that's fun. You don't have to use it there. Like I said, it's just a Disney gift card. As such, the food and wine booths will be open during the party, which is always fun. Select Epcot attractions are also open. It's most of the Epcot attractions as far as rides go, but Test Track, Soaring, Frozen Ever After, Remy's, and Guardians will be open. Spaceship Earth won't be open, Mission Space won't be open, and Figment and Living with the Land and Nemo. They also do entertainment throughout World Showcase. Usually they have a DJ playing like dance music, and then they usually have special characters kind of related to the theme of the event out as well. That'll be interesting to see who they use for this weekend, because most of these characters outside of Miguel don't really have costume characters. So that's the party. It goes from 10 p.m. I don't think I said until 1 a.m. Also good to note is that for the party, usually your only transportation option back to your resort after Epcot closes to day guests is the buses. So the Skyliner usually shuts down before it finishes. The buses will be available until 2:30 a.m. So the party ends at 1 a.m. So they give you a good long time to get on those buses. It does specifically say that the Skyliner and the monorails will not be available. I would guess because of the park closing at 10 for the monorails, they'll probably run until about 11:30, because they usually run an hour to an hour and a half after official park closing. Same with the Skyliner. So if you're like us and you can't stay there for longer than 45 minutes, you can take the Skyliner back to your hotel. That's what we did last year.
Yes, we were not there very long. We tell ourselves every year we're going to make it longer, and then we fail.
This year we're going to do it.
We're
This year
gonna
we're
try.
going to nap.
We're going to try.
We're going to nap.
Some coffee. A lot of coffee.
Well, we tried a lot of coffee last year, but we didn't. I think we need the nap.
Both.
Can you go down?
Oh. He's like, no, I'm in the show.
Bye.
Now we're going to talk about our plans for the weekend, kind of our flow for the weekend, where we're staying, what we're doing, all of that fun stuff. First thing, we're staying at Coronado for this weekend. We stayed there for a Star Wars weekend many years ago. Had a pretty good experience, but we did have a minor issue with the busing, only because this resort has multiple bus stops. So hopefully that will not be an issue this year. Haven't heard anything major.
And it really wasn't an issue. It just took, we just stood there a while before we got on the bus, but we were still there in plenty of time.
Yes.
So So that was fine. We love Coronado. We're actually going to be there. We're not running on Friday. We're still going to get there Thursday, which will be nice to have a whole day.
Yep, we will be at the Expo that first day there. We'll be there as early as the reservation system essentially allows us to. As always, if you see us there at the races, always feel free to stop by and say hi. We do appreciate it.
Yeah.
We like taking the time to talk to people. Not running the 5K. Friday is kind of a free day for us. Not a whole lot going on. Probably some resort chilling, pool. We do have some dining reservations. I gotta be honest, I forget when and where any of these are.
Most of them are at Disney. Actually, I think all of them are at Disney Springs because I made them. So we do have one for Thursday at Paddlefish. That's kind of become one of our after Expo go-tos. It's
like Paddlefish.
It's a good one. We like Paddlefish a lot. Friday we have, I think it's Enzo's Hideaway on Friday, and then I did Maria and Enzo's for Saturday. There's a good possibility I accidentally swapped those, but we do have one of each, just for we can get some carbs there option.
Good pasta options there.
Yeah. Well, we've eaten at both. We prefer Enzo's Hideaway, I think, as far as service and food goes. But we did recently eat at Maria and Enzo's, and
it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with our meal there, other than we had to wait a really long time to get seated. But we also had a very large group of people. So this one.
So Saturday, we both have the 10K. We're usually at the buses around that bus start time, so usually around 3 a.m. that day. You know, for me, pre-race usually looks like bagel and peanut butter, a banana before we're out the door, and then I usually bring a Pop-Tart with me to the race start. Typically, it's just pretty easy to have in your pocket. Typically, we drink our coffee on the bus over to there, and then typically have a bottle with noon, and that's like my pre-race meal getting ready for the race.
I do similar but a little less than that. I usually do the bagel and peanut butter. I have been experimenting with the honey stinger waffles recently and enjoying those as like a pre-race little snack, just because it's so long between waking up and actually starting the race. You know, it's probably almost 3 hours for me. So I think I'm gonna bring those for the 10K. Potentially maybe a gel, but I've done it without anything before and been fine, but since I've been doing the dopey training, I've been playing around with it a little more, so I might do that. Another fun thing is your mom and one of your sisters is going to be joining us for the 10K.
Yep, staying at Coronado with us as well.
So we can all go together.
Yep, so we'll have a fun group. As always, typically after the race, we hang out for a little bit, talk to people. It's usually a good time after the race. We enjoy hanging out.
Yeah. Our tentative plan is that I will do the 10K with your mom and sister. So all friends join me.
Yep, and I believe the 10K is going to try to be a faster race for me.
Yes, yeah.
Which will be fun. I haven't done a faster race in quite a while, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to do that. And it'll be fun to do the 10K because it'll really be fast.
Yeah.
So that's the 10K Saturday. We'll probably get wrapped up and headed back to the hotel for sure by 8:30, depending on how long we hang out afterwards. I mean, usually when it's just the two of us, we're back by 8. Actually, usually we're back closer to 7. Because it's usually right around whenever the quick service opens, which I think is 7.
7:30, yeah.
Measure it by food.
Our after race meal almost always tends to be the bounty platter at whatever resort.
Yeah. I will say that if memory serves, the Coronado quick service breakfast has been disappointing in the past.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago, though. I do remember that.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in that sandwich.
I do remember that.
Still bitter about that sandwich. And then kind of we have the rest of the day to hang out and chill. Coronado does have good pool area, I think.
Yep.
So we probably will hang out there quite a bit. And then obviously we have that dinner reservation we have, I think it's actually technically a lunch reservation because it's like 3:30, and that might be the Maria and Enzo's one because I was anticipating it might be slow. But that would probably get us dinner between 4 and 5, and then bedtime after that.
Yep, we do. We're pretty good about being in bed hecka early. Usually 7 o'clock. We're taking melatonin and closing the blinds for the night.
Yeah, even if you're not falling asleep, he usually falls asleep faster than I do, but even if you're not falling asleep, if you're getting your mind turned off and you're not looking at your electronic, at least I think you can get probably a good 6 or 7 hours at a minimum, maybe even more like 8, a full 8, which is great.
Yep.
That is also the day you have the 10K into the half is when we get an hour added, which we talked about before, which is just nice. One bad thing about that hour is that means you're gonna have an extra hour of sun if you are a later corral runner.
Yes.
So keep that in mind.
Sun will be up much earlier than usual from the 10K to the half. And also buses start at 2:30, so it kind of moves your morning up about half an hour. Again, we're usually out there, maybe not quite at 2:30, but at least like 2:40 or so. Try to get there and get out towards the course.
Yeah, we used to not be quite so diligent about that, but I feel like in the past few races, I feel like there's been a little more close calls. And I don't know if it's new bus drivers or just more people, more traffic. It seems to be taking a little longer, so getting on those earlier buses.
Yeah, some days too, the Epcot security gets backed up. Some day it's usually that they just don't open it early enough, and there ends up being a line. Once it moves pretty quickly.
It just makes you feel uncomfortable. I mean, usually it's always worked out, at least for us, as far as getting there, but it gives you a little stress that you don't need.
I think the half is kind of a chill run for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on dopey training, and I've been doing my long stuff has been pretty slow just because I want to last longer. But I'm excited to get back and do a race atmosphere. I mean, really for me, these are both training runs for dopey. So I'm excited though. I don't even know if we said this when we were talking about the half in our earlier segment, but the theme is Soul. Did we even say that?
Oh, I don't think we did.
I mean, Soul is a great movie. The problem with these movies is that obviously Coco was a big success pretty quickly because I think the music was great, the story was great. Raya and Soul are good movies, but they have no real nostalgia factor for the adults who are paying money for these races, and they just didn't have a big kind of.
They were both pandemic era movies.
Yeah. So I do I think the Soul, they're getting into the music of the world, which is really cool, but it's just I feel kind of the same way I did about when they introduced the villains themes, is it's not Wine and Dine.
Yeah, villains theme ended up surprising me though, because I enjoyed it. I thought the characters on the course and at the party were pretty solid.
I did. It just I'm such a nostalgic Wine and Dine fan. Even just the festival, the Food and Wine Festival, has always been weirdly important to me. I don't know, I'm weird.
You have people who like villains, and you have people that like Mickey with a pie.
Yeah.
We are Mickey with the pie people.
We're Mickey with pie people, yes. That's a very good way to put it. Anyway, taking the half easy, probably play around with some intervals. Definitely going to be listening to some music and audiobooks in that second half.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about that, to be honest. It'll be fine.
Yeah, another thing to note, we're expecting a hot weekend.
Oh.
A lot more hot weekends this last few years than cool weekends, for sure. Wine and Dine last year was rainy and humid.
The humidity of Wine and Dine last year was pretty intense. Yeah, it'll definitely be a week to remember to drink your water and your electrolytes leading up to it. So his sister's gonna be running the half as well. I think your mom's probably gonna spectate, which will be fun. So we'll probably hang out at the after party for the half for a good little while as well. If it gets really hot, that'll probably be what sends us home a little bit, but or back to the hotel. We'll probably go back to the hotel, grab some breakfast or lunch, try to do a nap.
Naps are good.
And then rally and get to the after party.
Also, Steve Shoes from Run Disney Rundown is also running the half.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. I don't think he's doing the after party though, right?
He's not doing the after party. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our kind of what to expect for Wine and Dine this year. Like we said, we're going to be there. If you see us at any point, please feel free to come and say hi. It's one of our favorite parts about race weekends now, getting to talk to everyone. I think we are both really looking forward to having races again, having Run Disney back.
Yeah.
And we're overall excited.
It's going to be a good time. Hope the weather plays nice, and everyone gets good sleep, and yeah, hopefully it's just smooth sailing.
That's going to do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that fun YouTube-y stuff, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
You want to say bye?